This is the story of Thumbelina. Once there was a wife who longed for a little girl, so she went to see an old wise woman to ask for her help. The woman gave the wife a barley seed. "This is not like the seed the farmer sows," said the old woman. "This is a special seed which you must take home and plant in a pot." The wife took the seed and planted it. Soon the beautiful yellow and red flower grew. The wife thought it was so beautiful that she couldn't help kissing it. At once the petals unfurled. There, in the middle, sat a delicate girl with golden hair. She was tiny, smaller than even a thumb, so the wife named her Thumbelina. The wife and the tiny girl were happy together. One night, an ugly toad came, hopping in through the window, and saw Thumbelina asleep.
"What a pretty wife she will make for my son,"
she said, and she picked up the bed, then hopped out the window. She placed the bed on a water lily.
"She cannot escape from here,"
thought the toad. Next page. When Thumbelina awoke, she began to cry. Dry your
tears,"
croaked the toad.
"You are to marry my son, and you shall live together down in the mud."
But the toad's son was very ugly. Poor Thumbelina did not want to marry him. "Who will save me now?" she sobbed. Luckily, the fish in the stream felt sorry for the beautiful girl. When the toad was sleeping, they chewed the stem of the lily leaf on which Thumbelina sat. At once, the flowing water carried Thumbelina and the leaf off down the stream, far away from the ugly toads. She was just beginning to feel happy again, when suddenly a large beetle buzzed down and seized her and flew high into a tree. "How pretty you are," the beetle told the tiny girl. "What would you like, some honey?" It wasn't long before the other beetles heard about the tiny girl and came to see Thumbelina for themselves. "She only has 2 legs. How ugly!" laughed one, giving Thumbelina a prod. Well, embarrassed by their laughter, one of the beetles picked up the tiny girl and set her down on a daisy in the field below. All summer and autumn, Thumbelina lived in the wood. When winter arrived, it grew very cold. She walked through the wood until she came to a hole where a field mouse lived. Thumbelina lived in the wood. When winter arrived, it grew very cold. She walked through the wood until she came to a hole where a field mouse lived. Thumbelina knocked on the door. When the kindly mouse saw the little girl, she was filled with pity. "Come in, child," she said. "You must be frozen." The mouse listened in silence as Thumbelina told her story. Then she smiled. "Why don't you come and live with me?" she suggested. So Thumbelina stayed with the mouse. One day the mouse told Thumbelina that her friend the mole would be visiting. "He is most handsome," she said. "He would make you a fine husband." When the mole arrived, he took quite a fancy to Thumbelina. "This is a passage between my home and yours," he said to Thumbelina. Next page. A dark tunnel. "You are most welcome to use it to visit me any time, but do be careful, there is a dead bird in there." Thumbelina looked into the tunnel. There, on the floor, lay a dead swallow. When she saw the poor bird, tears filled her eyes. "I will bring him a cover," she whispered, stroking its feathers. As Thumbelina placed the cover over the swallow, she was surprised to feel the heart beating. The tiny girl was filled with joy. The bird was alive. All through the long winter, Thumbelina cared for the swallow. Finally, when spring arrived, Thumbelina knew her friend was strong enough to fly once more. "It's time for you to leave," said Thumbelina bravely. Then she made a hole in the roof of the tunnel so the swallow could escape.
"Why don't you come with me?"
said the swallow. But Thumbelina could not leave the mouse after all her kindness, so she gave the bird one last hug. Then she watched as her friend flew away. That night, the mole asked Thumbelina to marry him, and although she did not want to, Thumbelina agreed, just to make the mouse happy. Finally, the day came when the mole came to fetch his wife and take her deep into this dark hole. Thumbelina thought her heart might break. Suddenly, a swallow flew by. Thumbelina told him all about the mole and his dark, dark hole. Next page. "Come with me," said the swallow. "I'm flying to a place where the sun always shines." So Thumbelina flew with the swallow far away to a warm country. The swallow landed gently on the petals of a flower. Inside the flower was a tiny young man. Thumbelina instantly fell in love with him. "I am the king of the flower spirits," said the tiny man. He fell in love with Thumbelina, and he asked her to be his queen. Thumbelina was very happy at last. She had found her true home. The end.